I still regret not going. Like, remember when HomePods were like on like fire sale, like Target and Best Buy? You can get them for
I
like what,
know.
250, $300.
Yeah,
Like
I
they
wish
were
I bought
always
another
on
one.
sale. Should have done it because now they're an appreciating asset. Just like
Yeah, just like
crazy.
Tesla.
Yeah, just like Tesla, get more money
Who would
for
have
your.
thought you'd
Yeah, I
buy all
know.
these things?
Elon was right. He was right all along. So next on the list, let me pull up my list here. We've got another failed Apple product, and that is, I know, sad for a lot of people. It's the mini iPhone. So the 12 mini and the 13 mini, because next year there will not be a mini iPhone, which I actually think is probably a good thing. And there are many reasons why I think that the iPhone 14 Max, I think is going to sell like hotcakes. But before we get to that, 12 mini and 13 mini. So Matt, let me ask you this. What is the main reason for the 12 and 13 minis downfall? Is it the price? Is it that the screen is too small? Is it because people couldn't hold them in their hands when they came out during the pandemic? People had to buy them sight unseen, so they didn't go with it. Was it because the 13 was just worth the extra $100 instead of the mini? Why do you think the 12 mini and 13 mini, what went wrong there, and what went so wrong that Apple is discontinuing the mini line that people wanted for so long?
Yeah, I think this is a case of Twitter wants it, the internet wants it, but real people don't want it. I think you're completely right that the 14, the rumored 14 Max with this 6.7-inch screen is going to be like the best-selling iPhone ever. I would not be surprised if that's the case because I think people just want bigger phones. I am not in that camp. I don't want a bigger phone. I want a really well-sized phone and as small as that can be. So like basically if I can get all the features, I want that in the smallest package possible. That's just me though. And that's what a lot of people on the internet were saying. That's why people were saying to bring back the SE when they first did that. And I mean, online you would think it's going to be the most popular phone ever. And I think we kind of talked about this back when it was first released, that I think people say they want it, but they don't actually want it. And the reason for that, I mean, there's probably a few things. I don't think it's because of the screens. Well, I do think it's because of the screen size, but I think it's because people want bigger screens. So that's one. I also think that if they had like a iPhone 13 Pro mini, there'd be a lot more people that were into that because I think people that buy the Pro are more into this kind of stuff anyway. So maybe those enthusiasts that are on Twitter always talking about wanting a smaller phone, they would opt for that version instead of opting for the 13 Pro like you and I did because we want these features, but we also don't want the Max phone, right? I don't think you'd go to the Mini, but I would definitely go to the Mini if I had all these features. I also think there's probably something to be said about battery life. I know that's something people really care about. And initially, when the 12 came out, I don't know if you could really say that the battery life was bad. Like, let me rephrase that. Like, if you're buying it sight unseen, there's no way to know if the battery life was going to be bad. But now we know the battery life is not that great on these smaller models. So I don't think people are going to want those. I think it's just all those things come together to make it not that much of a appealing case, especially like you said, $100 more, you get the bigger version, all the same features, but then you have better battery life, you got a bigger screen, all those things. I think it was one of those things that maybe even Apple just wanted it. Maybe there's some people high up in Apple that wanted this phone to exist and it just doesn't work.
It's interesting because I don't know if like they thought that maybe because of the iPhone SE's success that, oh, people like that phone because it's small, not because it's cheap, which I think really people like because it's cheap, not because it's small.
Yeah, I agree.
But also Apple, they don't really make products for just the enthusiasts, especially when it comes to the iPhone. I mean, there's a nice array of features and some options, but like I feel like the amount of people I see on tech Twitter who like this is such a small sample size that probably represents that most people wouldn't want this phone. It's an enthusiast phone, which is nice. And like there's companies that exist, especially on the Android side, to give you like an enthusiast phone, like the Asus, what is it, the ROG gaming phone.
ROG,
like
yeah.
That's an enthusiast phone that they probably know not many people are going to buy, but it's made for a specific subset of people. Apple doesn't typically do that. They usually try to have sort of a one-size-fits-all approach most of the time. So that's why I thought this was so interesting, and I wonder why their guidance and their testing on this went so poorly, because this seemed like just not meant for the average consumer, because especially when you look at the prices, for $100 more, you're getting a bigger screen, better battery life, and I think really for most people, they want the bigger screen. Maybe for like teens and enthusiasts, the smaller the better, that's great, but I think that most people, like my parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, everybody wants the largest screen possible, which is why the 14 Max makes a ton of sense and something Apple should have done a while ago. So I just, I know people love the mini, but it makes too much sense not to keep it around than to keep it around another year and just have more sort of poor performance in terms of sales.
Yeah, and I'm interested to know why Apple made it to begin with, because like you said, they don't just make phones for whatever category exists. They make them based on what's going to sell. So, and they obviously do their research. So I'm wondering what they saw behind the scenes that made this phone make sense for 2 generations. There had to be something. Like, could it just be bragging rights that this is the smallest 5G phone in the world? Like, nah, it can't be that. That's silly.
Well, even now with the iPhone SE, it's coming out that, oh, maybe that phone's not actually selling as well as we thought.
Right. And then also, I mean, it is pandemic season, so like that maybe there was a case for it before all this happened, but just things messed up. That's possible too. It could be that their information was good, but things just changed. Like maybe people. Well, here's a thing to maybe back that up a little bit is so the 12 came out when 2020.
2020.
Yeah. So 2020, obviously in development well before that. So in 2020, we're mid-pandemic. People are at home using their phones a lot more. And why do I need a mini phone when I'm at home? The whole point of a mini is that it fits in my pocket. When I'm going out and about, I don't even notice it's there. So at home, I actually want like a really big screen. That's why I use my iPad. That's why behind me, I have the Galaxy Fold. These are big experiences that I don't mind using because I'm sitting at home. Maybe if there was a world where everyone was still hustle and bustle everywhere going around, maybe it would sell a little bit better. But I don't know. The 13 came out and we're still kind of in that. It wasn't quite as much, but we were still kind of in that mindset. Maybe if it came out in like 2 years, or let's say 2 years ago, maybe it would be better. Or 3 years ago, I guess.
Well, that's the thing I had heard too. I forgot who said this, but someone said, well, with the mini, for a lot of people, this is a totally new form factor and totally new size. This is something that people need to go to a store and feel with their hands and pick up and sort of compare, because with other stuff, you sort of know what to expect. And maybe because of the pandemic and stores being closed, that people couldn't go into the store and see what it was like. So when they had to get a new phone sight unseen and just click on the website, they said, mini could either be good or bad. You could think, oh, mini, it's going to be small, it's going to be great, I'm going to love it. Or it's like, maybe it's going to be too small, let me just go with the 13 or the 12 just to be safe. I'm so curious to see what happened and like what the numbers proved, because I'm sure Apple knows exactly what caused the downfall of this phone and this model. We'll never know, but definitely not a raging success like the other models.
Hey, you made it to the end of this Apple Circle podcast clip, but there is a full episode. So if you want to listen to that, click the video over here. You can watch the entire thing. Or if you're someone who just wants to listen in your headphones, we have the audio version. Of course, links for that where you can subscribe and listen in your favorite audio podcast player is down below. And last but not least, the Apple Circle channel, where we have mini videos covering everything Apple, is also linked down below. So be sure to check that out and get subscribed.